He's a really good trader.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she's looking out.
Because September, I got to bring it August, September.
Oh, good.
All right, if you can stand and join us in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Okay, we have the fiscal year district audit. Mr. Vic, Brown,
Chairman, members of the board, of Harris CPA will present the audit. Hello.
maybe we can hear you better.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming down.
no problem. My name is Morgan Browning, I'm the audit director with Harris. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening to present the results of the fiscal year 2024 audit. My plan is to go over our reports that we issue. I'll touch on a few financial statement highlights concerning the general fund. And then I'll open it up to any questions that you have. So there's two reports concerning the financial statement. The first report that I'm gonna go over is on pages 4 through 6. It's the independent auditor's report. The report lays out management responsibility and the auditor's responsibility. So management is responsible for preparing this report for your material misstatement. They're also responsible for designing internal controls sufficient to prevent and detect material misstatements in this report. Our responsibility as auditors is to express an opinion as to the reliability and accuracy of these financial statements. We want to provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatement, whether it's caused by error or fraud. So for fiscal year 2024, we're issuing an unmodified opinion on the district's financial statements. That's the highest level of assurance that you can achieve in an audit. I like to call it a clean opinion. And congratulations to Levi and his department for getting a clean opinion on their audit. The last paragraph of this report references the second report that I'm going to cover. It's a report that's required by government auditing standards. That report is on pages 65 to 66 as well. There's two parts to this report. One is internal control and the other is compliance. As auditors, we're required to understand our internal controls. We're also required to determine if controls have been implemented. So if during the course of our test, we conclude that controls are not properly designed, or we can't tell if they're implemented, this report would reference findings. Or if we had a significant amount of audit adjustments correcting the financial statement amounts, this report would also reference findings as well with respect to internal control. So for fiscal year 2024, I'm pleased to report that there were no findings with respect to internal control for the district. The second aspect of this report is compliance. As part of government auditing standards, we're required to test compliance with laws and regulations, grants and contracts. A lot of these regulations are set forth by the State Department of Education through their publications and memos, and so we do perform compliance tests. So if during those tests we determine that there's non-compliance, this report would reference findings as well. So for fiscal year 2024, again, I'm pleased to report that there were no non-compliance noted as a result of those specific tests. The third report that I'm going to cover is a report concerning your federal award programs. That's on pages 67 through 68. So we look at your federal award programs as auditors, and we determine which programs are major programs. These are the programs that we're going to test. So the objective of this audit is to actually render an opinion as to whether or not the district complied with the requirements of the program that we're testing. The program that we tested was the Education Stabilization Fund. It has a assistance listing number of 84.425. So for fiscal year 2024, I'm pleased to report that there were no findings with respect to the compliance requirement for that program. And we're issuing an unmodified opinion on compliance, which means that you comply in all material respects with the requirements of that program. So there's a summary of audit results on page 73 that basically summarizes what we stated. Again, you're getting a clean opinion on your financial statements, an unmodified opinion. There were no findings, no non-compliance, and with respect to federal awards, you're getting a clean opinion with no findings with respect to controls over compliance as well. So with that, I want to shift to a couple financial statement highlights. Starting the general fund, if you want to go to page 19. Page 19 details out the balance sheet for your governmental funds. Within the general fund, it shows that you have 14.4 million in unassigned fund balance as of June 30th, 2024. That's roughly 45% of your annual expenditures within the general fund. So that's a very good ratio, is referred to as a budgetary cushion. So that's really high. I generally see 15 to 33%, so 45% is really high, and reflects your ability to weather a storm or to handle an unexpected event very, very well. So that's a significant amount of budgetary cushion that I wanted to with that, I'll pause and open it up to any questions that the board has concerning the results of the audit, or there's a lot of information in these financial statements as well. So if you had questions on them, I could answer those questions.
I don't have any questions at this point.
It's a lot to digest.
It is. You can look at it through lots of lenses as well, for sure.
I think one of the biggest things is, we've had some questions over the past year, and I know talking to you folks before you did the audit, we went over a couple of things that I think the board was concerned with, and it's good to know that there were no issues with any of the reporting, so.
Morgan, and I know this is, I'm always interested on that. If you look on page 20, the total long-term liabilities there, it sounds like, something of great concern, but you can address like what we're required to report with pension-related liabilities, even though it's not a liability to the district?
Yes, I can do that. So the accounting standards that apply to the district are set forth by GASB. And the requirements are fairly complex. There's over 100 statements of accounting requirements, technical guidance that that Levi has to implement, and that we have to audit. And with respect to the net pension liability, you're required to report your proportionate share of Percy's unfunded pension liability. So this is a liability that you'll never pay per se, but it's a liability that Percy, as part of the pension plan, is required to fund and invest and to pay distributions once your employees retire. And so that is their obligation, but accounting standards require to you to report your proportionate share of that liability. And so it's not just the district, it's all the governmental entities that participate with Percy, which is substantially all of my government audits. And so you have a percentage, and the numbers are out there, there's calculations involved. And so you're required to report that net pension liability, and that's $17.8 million, you know, of liabilities that are represented there on page 20 that James identified. There's also ones that are a little bit more down to earth, like compensated absences that are like vacation and sick leave that accrues for your employees, you know. And these aren't necessarily things that you worry about, you know, from a fiscal standpoint, but when an employee terminates or something like that, that's a long-term liability for the district. And so Levi has to calculate that, and we have to audit that number as well. So that's $211,000. You also have a net OPEB liability. These relate to other post-employment benefits, not necessarily pension, but healthcare related for your single employer plan. You actually have to get an actuary. You have to get an actuary report, and we have to audit the actuary report. And the numbers that are in that actuary report are reflected as long-term liabilities in this audit. So these are very, you know, sort of forecasting the future, you know, in terms of what you're going to pay out in liabilities. And so they're difficult numbers to account for. They're difficult numbers to audit as well. So that number is $1.7 million in long-term liabilities as well. There are other standards concerning leases and concerning software subscriptions that require you to calculate what your long-term liability is for a long-term software subscription agreement, for example, or a lease agreement that goes over a year long. There's a calculation involved, and then liabilities that are required to be reported as well. So these are not necessarily things that you budget for or would contemplate in your meetings, but they're part of the audit. And you know that if it wasn't difficult, then we wouldn't be here. So there's a lot more complexity than I did in my presentation. I do try to kind of get it down to the bare facts, but there's a lot of numbers in here that are required by GASB. But you might look at them and say, hey, I wonder what that is, you know. So, but that's very common.
Thank you, Morgan.
So I actually have a question now.
Sure.
You brought it up with the long-term liabilities with like licensing and software stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have long-term like curriculum licenses, is that in this area as well?
Yes. Now, off the top of my head, I know there's detail that flows into that. And it is license agreements, and other districts have curriculum that they subscribe to over a long term. And that would be an example of what I'm referring to. And it depends on, is it a long-term agreement versus month to month? And there's a lot of factors that are involved. Materiality plays a factor as well. So some of your licenses are really small, and so we don't actually calculate the liabilities. But generally for school districts, curriculum is one of those that generally are material, you know, over a long period. And so you just budget for the payment that you're going to make in the year. But GASB says calculate the present value of all those future payments and record that as a liability, you know, and amortize that. So that would be an example of a subscription of a subscription payable. That would be long term.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Was there more that you wanted to?
No, I think that covers it. I don't have any more to add, and if you ever have questions on these, this report was submitted on time. It was issued in October, middle of October, to the State Department. So we were in compliance, and Levi submitted his state report on time and got that submitted as well. So just wanted to add that.
I guess I just had one quick question. Although there were no issues found on anything, you know, the fund balance jumped out at you. That's a good thing. It was a good surprise, I think, to you. Was there anything else that stood out to you? as you guys went through the audit?
With respect to the financial statement audit, nothing really jumped out, on the financial statement audit or the single audit. Just the fund balance is something I typically report because it's meaningful. It's something that you watch or carry over into the next budget. It's something that is very relevant. I can't think of anything that stood out. We do other audits as well. This is the main financial statement audit of the district.
Yeah, thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right?
Thanks, Morgan.
No problem.
Thanks, Ethan. All right, superintendent's report, Mr. Gilbert.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I don't have a ton to report out here, as trying to keep time here. A couple of folks that have to leave for some other activities, so I just want to remind the board that next week schools are closed for Thanksgiving break. One of the things that we are in the process of, the state did release first payment for the facilities funds, and so Albert's been working to narrow that focus down some more, and trying to get the process going in a timely manner. I do want to jump over though to our PSMI grant. It has slowed down to a crawl at this point. Dominique can attest that things moved fast, and now we're waiting on a few items, so hopefully that momentum picks back up here soon. But other than that, that's really all I had for this month.
Any questions for Mr. Gilbert?
No.
Thank you, James. Okay, annual ISBA convention report. So Trustee Knox and Donahue and myself attended most of it, part of it for some of us. Just a quick few minutes if anybody wanted to share anything that maybe stood out to you guys, to us, that we can discuss further down the road later.
One of the things that stood out to me, Marsing did quite an interesting thing. They did a youth well-being assessment. They actually brought the whole town together. Of course, Marsing is not that big, but they explained how they kind of led up to this and kind of the well-being and what they were seeing in data, depressive symptoms in their kids and things like that. And so they kind of did a survey and for the needs and things like that. And it was town-wide. It was services-wide. It was not just one entity just reporting to everyone else. It was everyone doing it together. So they really have kind of come together for the well-being of the kids in that community. I was really impressed with that. Quite an undertaking, and it's something that they're working on. Christina was in that one too with me, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Another one, they talked about the, not the Marsing one, but the governances of school boards and how school boards work together for the education and safety for all kids. And I was really surprised because there are some school boards that don't work well together. And I think that Mountain Home has to be very, very pleased. At least we might not agree, but I think that we kind of come to a medium line, you know. I kind of shared with our table that I just lean forward and look at Christina and she straightens right up. So she's pretty good with that. So, it was a good discussion, very good discussion.
Not too different from the previous board from what I've heard.
That's right.
Sorry.
Exactly. So, you know, anyway, very interesting. They had some good workshops and I enjoyed it. Oops.
Good luck.
I think the one thing that I'd like to add, and I sat through the one that Connie was mentioning, on well-being, but then there was also one from Lewiston, and they went through a lot of different things that they've done, not just well-being related, but just improvements to schools and thing. And the one thing that resonated with me that both really were focusing in on was the community involvement and making sure that we are pulling the community in to help us with some of these conversations and projects that we're working on. And they gave some different ideas of, you know, what they've done and some other things that how we would go about it. But I thought that was really interesting, and just some of the topics that they've pulled them, you know, the community in on was very interesting.
So I'm trying to find the one, I left my book somewhere, who knows, but there was a lady named Megan something, she presented on Thursday. And it kind of connects with Marsing, the whole deal they went through, but it was a group that, and I think we'll talk more about it next month as we dig into this more, but just on the surface of it, they were really good about coming together and surveying students, identifying, you know, the needs, the issues, and putting a plan together to address those. And they've done it in a couple of communities, and they've, sounds like been pretty successful in addressing some issues that young people are dealing with and that we are obviously familiar with. So anyway, I've sent that information to Mr. Gilbert, and I just can't remember it myself, so glad I sent it to him. And then unfortunately, we were not able to, either the last day, I was not able to make it to vote, so hopefully everything passed the way that we wanted to. Have you had a chance to look at all what they?
From what I saw, it did.
Good.
To include no public money to private schools,
Okay, good,
so.
good. Yeah, I apologize for not being able to make it, so. Okay, anything else? Board of Trustees Public Engagement Report, anybody have anything to report? Public input, I need a straw. Come on down.
This kind of goes right in with your things if you guys need any help. Lions are always available, so if you guys need something, holler. Oops. So I called James on Friday, and he said you guys might be interested in this information. So I'm here on behalf of the Lions Club. Lions have been coming into the schools for years to do the vision screeners. I mean, I remember them coming into my classroom when I was teaching. So this last year we purchased the vision screeners. This is much different than the old picture things that you used to see. You know, the kids didn't know what a telephone was anymore. It's a cell phone, yeah, not a telephone. So these work very quick. We're able to get through a lot of kids in very little time. In the past, we've always done kindergarten first and third grades just because it took a little bit longer. And you can see on the spreadsheet that I have there of the students that we screen. This year, we thought we'd do all of the students from kinder through fourth, since it's a lot quicker with the machine. So the information is there. The reason there's not total students on last year's is we just did all the school kids that were there that day. So that is the total students that we had. So if they were absent, I didn't have them on the list. This year I went ahead and got the total number of students, so you can see the number of students. The number of students screened. This year we had to get permissions for us to be able to come into the schools to screen. I was able to give Ms. Cruiser some information, and with that information, you can see on that next page, she was able to come up with the screener, and then she shared it with all the other schools so that they could send it home as well. So this year, we screened about the same number of kids, even though it was the whole school instead of just the 3 grade levels. It would be awesome if we could get that screen or that permissions maybe in the registration packet at the beginning of the year so that parents could all sign it, because as you can see, we didn't get as many signatures on the page, or signatures, and so we weren't able to screen all the kids, which was tough, but we still got a lot of them done. If you look at the end of the spreadsheet, the percent of students referred, we had at West 26, 16% at North, 20% at Base, and 20% at East. In Boise, I was able to get a hold of the Envision, that's the people that are in charge of the screenings for the Lions Club. And in Boise, they get 40% that are actually referred. So either our parents are doing a lot better or teachers are talking to the parents and we're getting them screened. So we were well below the average of the schools over in Boise, so that we could come and do screening, come back if there was kids that were absent, kids that just were having troubles reading, or teachers saw some concerns, or even parents. We can come back. We have the machines in town, so we can just go back. We've gone to the junior high, and we screened a student there with parent permission, of course, and it was a referral. So hopefully we're catching some kids that need those glasses that can help. We also Lions Club does help students or parents if they can't afford the glasses as well. So let's see, in the back sheet, the little half sheet of paper, that's the actual paper that we fill out for the parents, whether they pass or they refer. Most of the schools put them in the kids' files just for referral back, but we do not collect any data on this other than what you see right there in front of you on that spreadsheet. Just how many students we do screen and how many we do refer. Trying to think of anything else. I thought it was good information for you guys to have. I don't know that anybody's ever come and presented to you what the Lions are doing with the screening. So I thought it would be good information for you to have.
It's awesome, I love
I didn't know
it.
much about it, so thank you.
Yeah, and we've done it for years, so just haven't had the information on it. And like I said, we're willing to come in and help in any way. So there are a few of us retired that can come in at any time, and then some of them take off the days in order to come and do the vision screenings. So we're here to help. So if there's anything that you guys need, we can definitely help.
It's great, I love it.
It's good stuff. Thank you so much.
Sure. Any questions?
Yeah, just a quick question. So did they just get the refer or the pass, or do they get told what you guys detected with the machine?
All they get is the refer and the pass, and that's all that we look at as well. It doesn't cover, we're not doctors or anything like that, so it does help them know if they need to go to a doctor to get their eyes looked at. It does use, if somebody's wearing glasses, it reads it right through the glasses, so it can read that correction from the glasses. Sometimes we still get referred with the glasses, and that means it's probably time to go back and get the eyes checked, or get the glasses checked to make sure they're good enough.
Great.
Good question. Awesome, thank you, Anita.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
message.
Is it all right if I go?
No. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
If we can get a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda, unless somebody wants something pulled out, if we can get a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Delegation none, business none, new business none. Okay, if we can get a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion, we go into executive session?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we can get a roll call vote, okay?
Trustee Knott, aye. Trustee Perez,
Aye.
trustee Benyon,
Aye.
trustee Donahue,
Aye.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye. We are in executive session. Let me read this fun little thing. Be it so resolved that the Board of Trustees of School District Number 193 recess from an open meeting to the following executive sessions pursuant to Idaho Code Title 74, Chapter 2, Section 74-202, 34C6A, open meeting, Section 74-204, 3, open meeting, executive session 74-206, 1B, to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of a public school employee, and a public school student. Idaho Code, be it further resolved, that following the executive session, the Board of Trustees will convene into public session for further business or adjournment of the meeting. We are in executive session.